It's time to have breakfast with someone on Good Morning Quad Cities, and today we're focusing on the challenges ahead for the National Football League. John joins us live to explain what a former NFL player is saying about the safety of the game as he has breakfast with the Quad Cities' own Julian Vandervelde. Hi, John.
Hi there, Angie. Great to be with Julian Vandervelde here at the Village Inn in Central Davenport on Harrison Street. Thanks for coming in early this morning.
My pleasure. There's food. I'm good.
There's a lot of food, too. I got to get to my chicken fried steak here. So tell us what you're doing now. Now that you're not in the NFL, you've been gone for, what, 2 years now?
This is my second year out.
So what are you doing now that you're not a football player?
Well, I'm a husband and a father. I'm coaching high school football, throwing Highland games, and currently I'm the market president for Moxie Solar here in the Quad Cities. So selling solar arrays and solar power to people.
And how different is that from what you thought you would be doing maybe 5 years ago with Moxie Solar?
It's very different, but in a good way. I did not think that I'd be able to find a job in the green energy sector, but it's something that I'm really passionate about, and I'm glad to be doing it.
So one of the questions that I had, you just mentioned Davenport Central. So how are you helping the high school players, the youth football players in the area, the goal to try to get to college? What are you doing, especially at Central, to try and get them to the next level?
Well, the biggest thing for me is with character and goal setting and priorities. I coach the sophomore team, the O-line and D-line, so I like to work in that kind of transformative year between, they're not freshmen anymore, but before varsity, they still have to really learn how to practice, how to prepare, how to put aside the noise, when you're at practice and really focus for those 2 hours on football. And that's something that I think I can help them with.
What do you mean by noise, out of curiosity?
Just there's always going to be a ton of things going on. I remember high school, there's hormones and girls all over the place. Yeah. You have your grades. Some guys have part-time jobs. It just depends on, everyone's got a little bit of a different situation. But when you get to football, that's 2 hours that you can just lock in on one thing, and you have one goal with your team, surrounded by your brothers. It's a great environment to get a lot of these kids into.
So speaking of youth football and high school football, one of the viewer questions that we had come in, just CTE in general, that is a huge topic right now, especially in the NFL. Art wants to know, what advice do you have for parents about the hazards of brain injuries, especially when our kids and grandkids play football?
I think that you just have to find programs that have good coaches that are going to teach your kids to do things the right way. As you get up into the studies, I know it's like 99% of the brains studied from NFL players had CTE, but then you only had like 87% of college football players, and it was like 4 in 11 of high school football players, or less, 4 in 13, something like that. So it's a matter of keeping the techniques and practices involved in football, where you're not growing that possibility of brain trauma as you get older. Well, if you start the right way, then you have a lower chance, I believe, when you get older, of developing those brain injuries.
We appreciate you joining us for the 6 o'clock portion right here on Good Morning Quad Cities. We're going to talk more about the culture of football today. Of course, the national anthem protest. That coming up at 6:30 this morning, Angie.
Lots more to talk about. Thank you so much, John and Julian. And don't forget, we do a special Facebook Live to show you the behind the scenes of our Breakfast with conversations. That takes place at the end of Good Morning Quad Cities on the WQAD Facebook page. One of the biggest events in our area is coming up next week, the Festival of Trees. Next Thursday, we are having breakfast with the administrator, Cheryl DeCap. She's going to join us live at the River Center to show us what's new this year and how your attendance helps arts programs in our area. You can submit any questions you have about Festival of Trees right now at WQAD.com. Just type breakfast in the search box.